Conservation is an interesting struggle in the gaming world. While a small handful of games have persisted, a few are stuck somewhere in the past. This creates a number of barriers, which prevent players from experiencing those games. Even small ones like older consoles can prove problematic. Over time, licenses expire, storefronts cease to exist, and some things are lost to the sands of time. While the Neptunia Rebirth games were never in such a dire situation, Idea Factory decided to bring them to PlayStation 4. This allows a new generation, including those on PlayStation 5, a chance to see where the franchise began. With so much time passing, are these a must-play, or is it simply good to have access to them? Since there is so much overlap with these three titles, it made sense to just do them all in one go. I mean, it's to the point where the biggest distinction between the three is how the menu looks. With that being said, I'm going to note which title I'm specifically talking about whenever possible. This is mostly narrative, though it appears in a few other sections. Neptunia Rebirth is essentially an introduction to the universe. We meet the four goddesses, who represent various consoles, battling it out in the ongoing console wars. Players need to collect fragments, unite the various CPUs, and ultimately stop the mastermind behind the current woes. The next adventure expands on the cast to include Nepgear and the other CPU candidates, who need to band together to save their sisters, defeat R4, and her crime syndicate. This one touches a bit more on things like piracy. There are more references to it, the impact it has on the world, and things of the like. With the third installment, things are much closer to modern titles. The CPUs have a much closer relationship, with the narrative having a more hangout vibe. While things are looking good, Neptune is taken to another dimension that feels reminiscent of the past. She needs to find allies and work together to find a path home. For the most part, these are not particularly impactful narratives. They're generally light games with some fan service and recurring jokes. Even if the first two offered some thinly veiled comments on the problems facing the industry at the time, they were just as much a passionate celebration of the hobby. In a lot of ways, I think they're an interesting time capsule. You figure, the first two games released in 2010 and 2011 respectively. Back then, piracy was a much bigger issue. Nintendo was fighting flashcards, whereas Sony had its custom firmware woes. It is just such a distinct snapshot of the time, similar to how media commented on the Y2K scare and COVID-19 will likely look in the future. The timing also presents a different set of references. Some are timeless, whereas I'm not sure how many people will actually remember Toro the Cat. Another big thing is how console wars changed over time. We're to a point where Halo is on PlayStation, and there are rumors more walls are set to fall, and honestly, this is a good thing. It all makes for a novel experience, assuming gameplay is not a deal breaker. I wouldn't consider the original games particularly deep. Enemies can be seen on the map. To engage, either walk up to them or initiate an attack. Doing this at the correct time will give advantage, whereas missing will result in them going first. It's slightly less forgiving than newer games, though it shouldn't be an issue overall. Combat comes down to two simple strategies. The first is lining up attacks. Since all attacks are on some level in AoE, proper positioning can hit multiple targets at once. There are downsides to this tactic, namely enemies can do the same thing, but doing so also forces the AI into compromising positions. As for attack rotations, there are two schools of thought. One approach is to edit each character's combo to fulfill a specific role. Generating gauge or breaking enemies are easy ways to achieve victory. Another approach is to push a button and mash it until the enemy is defeated. It won't work in every situation, though it will work in the vast majority of them. Like I said, it really isn't a deep system. Honestly, I spend more time positioning than anything else. Still, it can be fun, especially once skills, transformation, and other abilities come into play. Outside of combat, things are extremely streamlined. Most maps are tiny with a linear design. There are secrets and treasures to uncover, most of which are in corners or along the way. There are also optional interactions along with a world share system. Optional interactions are usually one-note jokes, typically alluding to a specific character with dialogue that furthers said reference. They are not much, often a sentence or two, but fun all the same. The world share system plays into things like the ending, rewarding those who choose to do optional bounties along the way. There is also a store, which generally just offers gear upgrades to ensure no one falls behind. All this being said, these games really show their age. Backgrounds don't look great, text looks bad, to certain things not being as sharp as you'd expect. They are very much so ports, with only so much being done to further refine them. Thankfully, it isn't all bad. Neptunia Rebirth 3 eliminates some of these quirks, and is the most modern of the collection. Likewise, those with a PlayStation 5 can opt to play Reverse instead. It features the same dated cutscenes, with the other content having a much fresher coat of paint. Unfortunately, Rebirth 2 doesn't have the same considerations, but at least it fares somewhat better than the first game.
Neptunia が調べてくれたんだけど、ほとんどのキャラクターデータが壊されているの。嘘でしょ？ウイルス倒したのに？
In a lot of ways, I think these games gained a lot with age. Yeah, they're not the most visually impressive or mechanically complicated, but they really showcase gaming at that time. It is just a very different experience after so much time. I find myself appreciating references I haven't seen in a while, and humor games have moved away from. Even the central conflict feels different. On one hand, they're so far removed from the current issues that it's somewhat refreshing. But on the other hand, it's something I've seen gain momentum in recent years, at least in other mediums. The only thing I would have liked to see is something that feels a bit more modern. Perhaps not to the level of Reverse, though something that eliminates some of the little quirks. It really feels like a Vita game port, something that is just not going to sit right with a lot of players. Hey, thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, don't forget to leave a like, and for more content, please subscribe.